Good afternoon and thanks for joining us on the New News. I'm Diane Parker. Miller has the midweek forecast. Plus, we take you to Big Sky for an inside look at a luxury housing and hotel project that's in the works. But first, our top stories. We start the show today with good news out of St. Ignatius, where a plane went down and things could have gone a lot worse. Take a look at this video. A Montana pilot is being praised for making a life-saving maneuver when the plane went down. He reported engine failure shortly after taking off from the St. Ignatius airport just before noon yesterday. The plane was headed towards a house and some power lines, but smart and very quick piloting helped avoid obstructions, landing near a road instead. The pilot and passenger were taken to the hospital with minor injuries and are expected to be okay. In Missoula, Montana Rail Link crews are investigating what caused about a half a dozen rail cars to jump the tracks Tuesday. An MRL spokesperson says the low-speed derailment happened yesterday morning in the Missoula rail yard, while details about the exact number of cars and whether they were loaded have not been released. No injuries were reported. A public debate is underway over passenger rail service in southern Montana. The service would include cities like Billings, Bozeman, and Missoula. A summit is happening this week in Billings. MTN's Alina Howder reports.
It's been a while since you could catch a train to another city from Billings.
Many folks forget that there was, until 1979, passenger rail service through Billings, Montana and through southern Montana.
But a second rail revolution may be picking up steam. The Big Sky Passenger Rail Authority has spent the past 2 years fighting to have Montana included in a federal study to restore Amtrak service to discontinued routes. And they succeeded. The language was signed into law and the study will take 14 months to complete. Advocates hope it's just the start.
Also looking for opportunities by way of the bipartisan infrastructure law to expand passenger rail service through this region.
The North Coast Hiawatha line once ran through southern Montana to the west coast, but like many routes, it was discontinued.
In 1890, trains were the fastest way to move people across Montana. Now they're the slowest.
Yellowstone County Commissioner John Oslin has long been a vocal opponent of resurrecting passenger rail, concerned about the capital needed to make it happen.
The study I read that was done by Amtrak 12 years ago said it would cost about $1 billion to upgrade the tracks from freight rail to passenger rail. With inflation, I'm going to guess that's 2 or 3 times that now.
But plans have not been derailed. Billings this week is playing host to government and business representatives who want to resurrect passenger service.
Some small communities in eastern Montana, people who live there have to drive 175, 200 miles to Billings to catch a flight or to see a doctor.
18 counties in Montana have signed on in support of the plan. Yellowstone County is one of the big exceptions, but the Big Sky Passenger Rail Authority is optimistic.
I would argue that I have never in my years of elected service seen as much enthusiasm and support across the spectrum as this initiative related to passenger rails.
At this point, only time will tell. In Billings, Alina Howder, MTN News.
New details today surrounding a road rage incident in Billings that turned deadly. No arrests have been made, but police are investigating. Violent road rage incidents are rare, but officers say they get calls every single day about angry drivers. Their advice, stay in your vehicle, call 911, and listen to instructions from the dispatchers.
They'll try to direct you towards a direction where there is an officer waiting or that they can intercept. And then they can deal with whatever the disturbance is or whatever the traffic complaint was and help resolve the situation.
We checked the numbers. Across the country, a record 131 people were killed in road rage shootings in 2021. And we want to keep you updated on the shooting at Montana Fair that left a man with a bullet wound in his leg and sent fairgoers running. No one has been arrested. Yellowstone County Sheriff Mike Linder says deputies were able to identify those involved, but are still wrapping up that investigation. A dangerous and often deadly trend. Billings police say they are seeing a spike in the number of fentanyl-related overdoses in Billings and the surrounding area. So far this year, there have been 159 non-fatal overdoses and 18 overdoses that were fatal in the county. And already this month, there have been 24 reported overdoses. A mysterious canine illness is killing dozens of dogs in Michigan. Authorities say the dogs initially showed signs of canine parvovirus, but strangely, they all tested negative. The virus is highly contagious with symptoms that include vomiting and bloody stool. Most of the dogs died within just 3 days of those symptoms. And we're taking you to Chinook in Montana, where some 30 dogs need to be adopted. Paws of Chinook is in desperate need of help to care for its overflowing shelter. Paws is a nonprofit animal shelter that received a call from Blaine County Dispatch Monday. A man passed away in his home, leaving dozens of dogs behind and leaving a problem at the shelter because it only has 5 kennels. And that's a look at some of the day's top stories.
Well, happy Wednesday, everybody. Hopefully hump day treating you good so far. Let's focus on the temperatures. Our projected highs today, some of us not getting out of the 70s. Nice change of pace out there. Look at our state capital, Helena, up to 79. We'll go 73 in Cut Bank, 79 in Great Falls. Lewistown, rather, getting up to 75. Bozeman, though, getting into the low 80s. We'll go 81 in West Yellowstone. Billings up to 84. We'll hit 83 in Miles City, 80 in Glendive. Down in Sheridan, getting into the mid 80s today. Now you can see that rain, those storms coming in across the region because that area of low pressure off to our northwest. Some of these storms could turn strong to severe. Where could that hit? I'll let you know with the main forecast coming up.
New today, we have an important deadline to tell you about. If you're impacted by June's devastating flooding, this marks the last week to apply for workers' benefits with the state. Here's a look at what you need to do and whether you qualify with MTN's Andrea Lutz.
As residents of Yellowstone County continue to pick up the pieces after devastating floodwaters.
You know, that was a terrible situation this spring. It's hard to believe it was already this spring.
A deadline to get help looms.
I would hope that people aren't still waiting around because the door is closing here this week.
And Paul Martin with the Montana Department of Labor wants to ensure no one's left empty-handed.
So if someone needs to file a claim or is unsure whether they're eligible or not, I would encourage them to just file a claim.
That's because the deadline to get assistance for certain groups in Yellowstone County is this Friday. This round of assistance is just for those impacted by flooding in Yellowstone County who are self-employed. Anyone who can no longer work because of physical damage or injury from the flooding or death.
We've had 68 claims stood up so far, and that would be the 3 initial counties, Park, Stillwater, and Carbon, and that period of disaster assistance has come to a close in those 3 counties unless you can show good cause as to why you're late. Yellowstone is still in play for this week.
When water levels rose quickly, catching residents off guard, most had their hands full with so many things.
I don't think it's their first immediate concern when there's flooding like this.
Martin says Montanans are encouraged to file a claim and do so before it's too late.
I hope we helped all that we were able to.